your parents, they they try to force you to do things that they are, these matters, there is a disobedience to Allah God Almighty, and the maximum and the one on the top of these actions is joining others with Allah God Almighty. And this does not apply only to this, but for example, if the parents, they abuse the child both physically and verbally, this is a disobedience to Allah God Almighty. Why? Because Allah God Almighty states in the Quran that He honored the children of Adam, He honored people. And when parents, they abuse their children, they are disobeying Allah God Almighty. They are disobeying the honored kind of status of people. So in this case, the child, if he tries to go away from this abuse, Allah will bless him. But the parents, they try to use this kind of that you are destined to hell kind of approach as a stick over that child. It's the wrong thing to do. And it produces bad psychological effects in the child. He becomes frightened of religion, he becomes frightened all the time. But the obedience to parents and listening to their words implies only if the parents were believers. A believer, before he does any kind of action, he thinks whether this action pleases Allah God Almighty and he does it, or if it displeases Allah, he wouldn't do it. So I think this clarifies this matter. Now coming to problem number 4, there's a problem in parents not teaching their children their purpose in life. I see this in parents as well, that they don't teach their children why Allah God Almighty placed them on this earth for, what is their purpose in life. And this produces a state of loss in the child. He tries drugs, he tries alcohol, he tries anything that makes him feel alive, because he does not know his purpose in life. Now Allah Almighty teaches us the cure for this in the Noble Quran in chapter 31 verse 17, which states, "O my son, perform prayer, enjoin people for al-ma'ruf and forbid them from al-munkar, and bear with patience whatever befall you. Verily, these are some of the important commandments ordered by Allah God with no exemption." Now, Allah teaches us in this Quranic verse, and here Luqman is teaching his child his purpose in life, that you should enjoy what is good and forbid what's evil, which means that your purpose in life is to strive to make the word of the Creator supreme. The purpose that Allah God Almighty placed people on this earth is to strive to make the word of the Creator supreme. So that is the purpose that every parent should teach their child, that your purpose in life is to use your capability, to use what Allah God Almighty gave you, to strive to make the word of the Creator Allah God Almighty supreme, and to make the Quran supreme on this earth. If a child understands that, then he would not go to drugs, he would not go to alcohol, because he has a goal, and he would use all of his capabilities in that goal. Now, the problem number 5, some parents, they teach their children that they are better than other people. Some parents, they teach their children that they are far superior to other people, and that other people are nothing compared to them. And this is something very dangerous, because this installs arrogance in the child. If the child is taught this, then this increases arrogance in him, and teaches him arrogance. And arrogance is a very bad quality, because if a child is arrogant towards other people, then eventually he would be arrogant, and he would disobey his parents, and he would be arrogant and disobey Allah God Almighty. Because when Allah Almighty advises him something, he would put his opinion better than Allah God Almighty. It's very important, very dangerous aspect. Now, what's the Quran view on this? Allah Almighty states in the Quran, chapter 31, verse 18, the following: "And turn not your face away from men with pride, nor walk in insolence through the earth. Verily, Allah God likes not each arrogant boaster." Now, Luqman is teaching his child here not to turn his face. Luqman is teaching his child not to turn his face in arrogance to people, like turning his face away from people in arrogance. So Luqman is teaching his child not to be arrogant and not to turn his face away from people in arrogance. So a parent should teach a child not to be arrogant and to be kind to people, because if a child is not arrogant, then he would be from the guided ones, because arrogance is the main sin, is the sin that produces all other sins. Because if a person is arrogant, then he believes that his opinion is better than that of Allah God Almighty to him, and he would do all of other kind of sins. Now, coming to the problem number 6, parents teaching their children that being rude is the way to communicate with people. Now, I see this with parents as well, that they teach their children that rudeness and being impolite to people is the way to get what you want from them. And this produces a very bad psychological effect on the child, and also it drives people away from that person. If a person is rude to people, whatever that he's saying, people will drive away from him. Now, what's the Quranic view on this? Allah states in the Quran, chapter 31, verse 19, "And be moderate in your walking, and lower your voice. Verily, the harshest of all voices is the voice of the donkey." Now, Luqman is teaching his child to lower his voice. So Luqman is teaching his child that the best way to communicate with people is by good words, by being kind to them, by having a kind, soft voice, because that will drive people, because that will bring people closer to that child, closer to that person, when he talks in a kind, polite way and a soft voice. And Luqman here is convincing his child that this is the way to go by giving the following example, that the harshest of voices is the voice of a donkey. What does this mean? What's the example? What does this example serve? Now, if a person is walking in a region, in a field, and he hears a donkey, that the voice of a donkey has the characteristic of being loud. So that person will try to go, the first reaction that person will try to go away from the source of the voice. Likewise, if a person shouts and he's loud mouthed and rude to people, your first reaction would be is to go away from that person, whatever he's saying, whatever the message that he's delivering. So Luqman is teaching his child, and Allah Almighty is teaching us, that being kind, soft-spoken is the way to communicate with people, because that will bring people closer to that person and the message that's being said. So we see, brothers and sisters, the light of the Noble Quran and the mercy that Allah Almighty contained in this book. And it's a book that people, if implemented, they would not need any other book, and their teacher would be Allah God Almighty, and the reference book would be the Noble Quran. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zquran.com, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.